sine and cosine, I thought we will first start with recalling the definition of Fourier cosine transform, Fourier sine transform, because we'll be using that throughout. Okay. All right. So let's begin. So this is the basic definition that you have to know. Okay. So to start with, what is Fourier cosine transform of f of x? And as I told you, f of x is defined in 0, infinity. Don't forget that. Okay. All right. Now, what is Fourier cosine transform of f of x? It is denoted as fc of f of x. Okay. It is also denoted as fc of s. And how is it defined? It is root of 2 by pi, integral 0 to infinity. You remember how it was there? It was 1 by root of 2 pi, right? 1 by root of 2 pi. Here it is root of 2 by pi, integral 0 to infinity, f of x cos sx dx. Okay. Now I have the corresponding inversion formula. Now in the inversion formula for Fourier cosine transform, if you compare it with the definition, you will see that all you're doing is exchanging f of x and fc of f of x. Okay. So f of x comes to the left, fc of f of x goes to the right hand side. And another difference is, instead of dx, I have ds. Okay. So the variable here in inversion formula is s, not x. Okay. All right. Now, secondly, you have the definition for Fourier sine transform of f of x. Now, there is no big difference. This is denoted as fs of f of x. It is also denoted as fs of s. And what is it by definition? Root of 2 by pi, integral 0 to infinity, f of x into sine sx dx. Because it's sine transform, you will have sine sx dx. Okay. And what is the corresponding inversion formula? fs of f of x and f of x are interchanged. Okay. And dx is replaced by ds. That's it. You get the inversion formula. So what is it? F of x is equal to, again, root of 2 by pi, integral 0 to infinity, fs of f of x, sine sx, because it's for sine transform, sine sx ds. Now you have to remember all the 4 by heart, and all the 4 are very related. Okay, so it's very easy to remember. So remember this. So it starts with the formulae start with root of 2 by pi, integral 0 to infinity. This is for all definitions of Fourier cosine and Fourier sine. Okay, please remember. All right. Now, as I told you, we're going to see 4 topics today. We will start with the first. Okay, the first topic is Parseval's identity for Fourier sine and Fourier cosine transform. Now we saw Parseval's identity for Fourier transform yesterday, right? Now this is very different. I mean, the identity is very, very similar, but where we use it is very different. Okay, here we use this identity for finding the values of certain integrals. Okay, so certain integrals can be evaluated using this identity. So we're going to see how and where. All right. Okay. So before we start, let's see what is Parseval's identity for Fourier sine and Fourier cosine transform. Now, as I told you, the statement is very similar to what we saw in Fourier transform. Okay. So what's the big difference here? F of x is again defined in 0, infinity. Okay. Now, if Fourier sine transform of f of x is denoted as fs of s, then what is the statement? Integral 0 to infinity, modulus f of x square dx is equal to integral 0 to infinity, modulus fs of s square ds. Okay, so there are 2 changes here. If you notice from the Parseval's identity that we saw yesterday, the limits are 0 to infinity. Please don't forget. Another thing is, in the right hand side, instead of f of s, we have fs of s, because this is for sine transform. This is Parseval's identity for sine transform. So that's why we have fs of s. And what is fs of s? It is Fourier sine transform of f of x. Fine? All right. Now, similarly, we have Parseval's identity for Fourier cosine transform. It's exactly the same statement. What's the only difference? Instead of fs of s, you will now have fc of s. Okay? And what is fc of s? It is Fourier cosine transform of f of x. So you have to remember these 2 statements by heart. One is, it's integral 0 to infinity, f of x square dx is equal to integral 0 to infinity, fs of s square ds, or fc of s square ds if it is for cosine transform. Okay. All right. So this is the statement. Now, I'm going to tell you how to evaluate or find the value of certain integrals using these identities. Okay. For that, you need to know about e power minus ax. Now, e power minus ax is a very, very important function. Please remember this function. Because if you look at Fourier sine and cosine transform problems, you will see this function practically everywhere. This function will be there everywhere in Fourier sine and cosine transform problems. It's a very, very popular function. Okay, so I want you to remember this function. So what function am I talking about? E power minus ax. Okay, now what we're going to do now is find the Fourier cosine transform for this function and find the Fourier sine transform for this function. Okay, because we're going to use this in a lot of places. All right, so this is one famous function, e power minus ax. And what we're going to do now is find Fourier cosine transform and Fourier sine transform for this function. Okay, so let's first find Fourier cosine transform. Now we all know what it is by definition. What is fc of f of x by definition? It is root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity f of x into cos sx dx by definition. Okay, now what is f of x for us? It is e power minus ax. So let's substitute that here. So it's root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity e power minus ax cos sx dx. Okay, now I have to integrate this. How do I integrate? I have a formula. See, now usually when you have to integrate product of two functions, you either go for integration by parts, or now you know Bernoulli's formula. Even better, you go for Bernoulli's formula. But there's absolutely no use if you use Bernoulli's formula here, because I don't have an algebraic function. So if it will just go on and on, it will never stop. Okay, so remember, when you have to integrate product of two functions where one is exponential e power ax and the other is cos or sine, you have a ready-made formula. Now this formula by now I'm sure you should be familiar, because we've done this in Laplace transform as well. Okay, so this formula you should know by now. So remember that when you have to integrate product of two functions where one is exponential, the other is cos or sine, you have a formula which is ready-made. Okay, so that's the formula that I've quoted in yellow. I've highlighted it in yellow. Please look at that formula. Integral e power ax cos bx dx is e power ax by a square plus b square into a cos bx plus b sin bx. That's the formula. Okay, so I'm going to simply use that formula here. So what do I have instead of a? I have minus a. What do I have instead of b? I have yes. So in the formula, replace a by minus a and b by yes. So this is what I get, root of 2 by pi into e power minus ax divided by minus a the whole square plus s square. B square becomes s square into minus a cos sx, because I'm replacing b by s, plus s into sin sx. Okay, I'm simply using this formula, replacing a by minus a and b by s between the limits 0 to infinity. Okay, now let's substitute the limits. The upper limit is infinity. So when I substitute the upper limit, what is e power minus infinity? Look in this highlighted yellow part, I've written e power minus infinity is 0. See, these are basic things that you have to know. Okay, so e power minus infinity is 0, e power 0 is 1. So when I substitute the upper limit, it becomes 0 completely. Okay, so it's 0 minus, lower limit is 0. What is e power 0? 1. So 1 divided by a square plus s square into minus a into cos 0 is 1 plus sin 0 is 0. Okay, so that's how I get root of 2 by pi a by a square plus s square. Never forget, what is Fourier cosine transform of e power minus ax? It is root of 2 by pi a by a square plus s square. Never forget this. You have to remember this result by heart, because it's a very, very famous function which we used almost everywhere in Fourier cosine and sine transform problems. Okay, so when the function is e power minus ax, its cosine transform gives me root of 2 by pi a by a square plus s square. Okay, now let's find the sine transform of the same function. Okay, now Fourier sine transform of f of x formula is root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity f of x into sin sx dx. Right, now replace f of x by e power minus ax. All right, now again I have a ready-made formula, integral e power ax sin bx dx. I have a formula. So here also it is e power ax by a square plus b square into a sin bx minus, for sin it is minus b cos bx. Okay, so that's the formula that I'm going to use here. Again, what should I do? In the formula, I should replace a by minus a and b by s. Okay, so what do I get? Root of 2 by pi. I get the next step when I use the formula, replacing a by minus a and b by s. Okay, again I substitute the limits. You know e power minus infinity is 0. So the upper limit becomes 0 completely. The lower limit is 0. And what is e power 0? 1. So that's how I get 1 by a square plus a square into sine 0 is 0, cos 0 is 1. I get minus s. So what result have I got now? For your sine transform of e power minus ax, it is root of 2 by pi s by s square plus a square. Okay. So these two I want you to remember by heart. Now tell me, Fourier cosine transform of e power minus ax is root of 2 by pi a by a square plus a square. What is Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax? It is root of 2 by pi s by a square plus a square. Please take this down as results. Okay. Now you can ask me how to remember. You might get confused whether the numerator is yes or a. There's an easy way to remember, I'll tell you. Okay. See, for Fourier sine transform, the numerator is yes. For sine starts with yes, right? So sine transform, the numerator is yes. Okay. For cosine transform, the numerator is a. Okay, so it's easy to remember. Fourier cosine transform of e power minus ax is root of 2 by pi a by a square plus a square. Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax is s by a square plus a square. Fine. Okay. Now let's go ahead to the problem. So as I told you, we can find the values of certain integrals using Parseval's identity for Fourier cosine and sine. So let's see how we do it. Now this is one very important problem. It's a very famous problem which you can come across in a lot of question papers. Okay. So now this question can be worded in two ways. Okay. Sometimes you might be asked to find the Fourier cosine and sine transform of e power minus ax and hence evaluate these two integrals. Or you know what? Sometimes the question might say simply evaluate these two integrals using Parseval's theorem. Okay. So I want you to know something. When I finish the problem, I'll tell you what. Okay. So let's go ahead. First, you're asked to find Fourier cosine and sine transform of e power minus ax. Just now we saw what it is, right? So I'm not going to explain this. I know when the function is e power minus ax, what is its Fourier cosine transform? It is root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity e power minus ax cos sx dx. And what is that equal to? Root of 2 by pi a by a square plus a square. You can straight away write it. You can take it as a result. Okay, it's not wrong at all. Similarly, what is Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax? It is root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity e power minus ax into sine sx dx. And what is that equal to? Root of 2 by pi s by a square plus a square. Okay. So we found the first part of the problem. We found the Fourier cosine and sine transform of e power minus ax. Now listen carefully. I am asked to evaluate these two integrals and nothing is given in the question. Okay. Now it has to strike you that you have to go for Parseval's identity. So you look at the function for both the integrals. It has x square by x square plus a square the whole square. Now that should remind you of s by s square plus a square. When will I get s by s square plus a square? Only in Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax. Okay. Similarly, look at the second integral. I have 1 by x square plus a square the whole square. Now when will you get 1 by s square plus a square or a by s square plus a square? Only when you consider Fourier cosine transform of e power minus ax. Now this has to strike you. See, that is why I said these two results are so important, because just by looking at these integrals, it has to strike you that it resembles s by s square plus a square and a by s square plus a square. It has to strike you. And one more thing is, I have the whole square. I don't have s by s square plus a square here. I have x square by x square plus a square the whole square. So what does that mean? I have to square the sine transform. I have to square the cosine transform. And which identity talks about that? Only Parseval's identity. You understand? So these two integrals we're going to evaluate using Parseval's identity. So let's take the first subdivision. It has x square by x square plus a square the whole square. So we will use Parseval's identity for Fourier sine transform for this function e power minus ax. Okay, because that only gives us s by s square plus a square. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to use Parseval's identity for Fourier sine transform. And what is that? What statement is that? Integral 0 to infinity f of x square dx is equal to integral 0 to infinity fs of s square dx. Okay. Now all you have to do is substitute. Okay, it's very simple. Substitute for the left hand side, substitute for the right hand side. So what is f of x for us now? What is the function for us? e power minus ax. So substitute that. E power minus ax the whole square dx is equal to, right hand side, what should you do? You should substitute Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax. That is what we found just now. What is Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax? It's root of 2 by pi s by s square plus a square. So substitute that here. Okay. So root of 2 by pi s by s square plus a square the whole square. Now simply, simplify. Just simplify. Look at the left hand side. Left hand side, I have e power minus ax the whole square. What is that? E power minus 2ax, isn't it? What is a power m the whole power n? It is a power m into n. So left hand side, I have e power minus 2ax. How will I integrate that? E power minus 2ax divided by the constant. I'm integrating. So I divide by the constant. What's the constant? Minus 2a. Okay. Between the limits 0 to infinity. This is in the left hand side. What happens to the right hand side? 2 by pi is a constant. I can take it outside. What am I left with? S square by s square plus a square the whole square. Now this integral is exactly what we want. Okay. The only difference is in the question I have x. So what do? I simply replace s by x. That's perfectly allowed because it's only a dummy variable. Replace s by x in the right hand side. Okay. What about the left hand side? Substitute the limits. You know e power minus infinity is 0. So 0 minus. What is e power 0? 1. 1 divided by minus 2a. Okay. So have this integral 0 to infinity x square by x square plus a square the whole square on one side. Bring all the other terms to the other side. You get the answer, which is pi by 4a. Have you understood? So what did we do here? We simply used Parseval's identity. That is all. We got the result. We got the value of the integral. So what's the one thing that you have to remember here? When you look at the integral, no, it has to strike you that e power minus ax is the function that I have to take because its sine transform gives me s by s square plus a square. This has to strike you. See, that is why I said it's a very popular function used everywhere. So remember its Fourier sine transform. Remember its Fourier cosine transform. Now, why I'm telling you this so much is because look at the or part of the question. The question can also be worded like this without giving you the function. Without giving you the function f of x equal to e power minus ax, question can be simply evaluate integral x square by x square plus a square the whole square and the next integral. So it has to strike you that you have to take the function as e power minus ax because you know Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax only gives me s by s square plus a square. You understand? So that's why I'm stressing on this so much. So the question can also be worded in the or part like that, without giving you the function. If they give you the function, then you don't have a problem at all. Okay. If they don't give you the function, still you should know that you have to take the function as e power minus ax, find out its Fourier sine transform, cosine transform, and then go for Parseval's identity. Okay. All right. Now remember, we've only proved the first one. How do we find the second one? The second one has dx by x square plus a square the whole square. So which transform gives you a by a square plus s square? Cosine transform. So next we will consider Parseval's identity for Fourier cosine transform. Okay, so state the identity and just simplify. You will get the result automatically. So what is the statement? Integral 0 to infinity modulus of f of x square dx is equal to integral 0 to infinity, because this is cosine transform, modulus of fc of s square ds. Okay, now substitute for f of x. It is e power minus ax the whole square in the left hand side. Substitute for the right hand side. What is fc of s? It is root of 2 by pi a by s square plus a square, and I have to square it. Okay, the square is also for the root of 2 by pi. All right. Okay. Now look at the left hand side. Look at the left hand side. Left hand side integral we've already evaluated. Please look in the previous slide. I've already found it out to be 1 by 2a. So I've written it straight away. Okay, 1 by 2a is the left hand side. Right hand side I will get 2 by pi. A square is again a constant, so I'm taking it out, and I'm left with integral ds by s square plus a square the whole square. But in the question I have dx by x square plus a square the whole square, right? So all you have to do now is simply replace s by x. Okay, simply replace s by x and bring all the other terms to the other side. You get the result. Integral 0 to infinity dx by x square plus a square the whole square is equal to pi by 4a cube. Okay, so that's it. So that's how you evaluate certain integrals, and this is one important problem. Okay, so please remember, if you're asked to find just the value of these two integrals without mentioning the function, you should know that you have to take the function as e power minus ax, and it has to strike you that because Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax gives me s by s square plus a square, and Fourier cosine transform gives me a by a square plus a square. Okay, so when you look at these integrals, everything should, you know, fall into place, and that's how thorough you should be. All right, because it's a very important problem. All right, so we come to the end of the first topic. Now let's go to the second topic. All right, so what are we going to do here? We're going to evaluate integrals using property of Fourier sine and cosine. So now we saw how to evaluate integrals using Parseval's identity, right? Next, we're going to see how to evaluate integral using property of Fourier sine and cosine transform. So this is one famous property, all right? By now, I mean, I don't know whether you've come across this property, but I want you to learn this. What does it say? It's a very simple one. Let f of x and g of x be two functions which are both defined in 0, infinity. Okay? And let Fourier cosine transform of f of x be denoted as fc of s. Let Fourier cosine transform of g of x be denoted as gc of s. It's just a notation. Okay? Let Fourier sine transform of f of x be denoted as fs of s. And let Fourier sine transform of g of x be denoted as gs of s. So I hope you're clear with the notations. All right? Now look at the property. This is the property which I've highlighted in yellow. It says integral 0 to infinity f of x into g of x dx is equal to integral 0 to infinity fc of s into gc of s ds. Okay. Similarly, the same left hand side is also equal to integral 0 to infinity fs of s into gs of s ds. So this is one property that I want you to remember. Okay. So the right hand side, what is fc of s and gc of s? They are the Fourier cosine transforms of f of x and g of x respectively. Okay. Similarly, look at the last step. What are fs of s and gs of s? They are the Fourier sine transforms of f of x and g of x respectively. Okay. So I want you to remember this property by heart, because we're going to evaluate integrals using this property that we've seen just now. All right. So let's see how we do it. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So look at the question now. It just says evaluate. Again, this is a very famous question that I've taken. It says evaluate integral 0 to infinity x square by x square plus a square into x square plus b square, and integral 0 to infinity dx by x square plus a square into x square plus b square using Fourier transform. See, nothing is given in the question. It just says evaluate these two integrals using Fourier transform. Now, you know what? Two things have to strike you. One is, when you look at this x by x square plus a square, x by x square plus b square, it has to strike you that you have to take the function as e power minus ax and e power minus bx. Because if you take these two functions, find their sine transforms, you will automatically get s by s square plus a square and s by s square plus b square. Now this has to strike you. See, that's why I said e power minus ax is one important function whose cosine transform and sine transform you have to remember by heart, because you have questions like this where nothing is given about the function and you have to evaluate the integral straight away. Okay, so how will you start the problem? This is how you start. When you look at the question, it has to strike you. Okay, so x by x square plus a square. It has to strike you. Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax will give me s by s square plus a square. Similarly, it has to strike you. Fourier sine transform of e power minus bx will give me s by s square plus b square. Okay, so that is how I start the problem. I will take f of x to be e power minus ax. I will take g of x to be e power minus bx, and simply use the property that we've seen just now to evaluate these two integrals. Okay, all right, so let's see how we do it. Okay, now to evaluate the first one, as I told you, it has x square by, numerator has x square. So obviously, which transform should I take? Sine transform. Okay, so now that I've taken consider the functions f of x as e power minus ax and g of x as e power minus bx, what is the Fourier sine transform of e power minus ax? It's root of 2 by pi s by s square plus a square. I've written it straight away because I hope by now you're all familiar with it. Similarly, what is gs of s? Gs of s is nothing but Fourier sine transform of g of x. And what is that? Root of 2 by pi s by s square plus b square. Okay. Now I'm going to use the property. Look at the previous slide. This property is what I'm going to use, which has the sine transform in it. The second one. Okay. So by property, I have integral 0 to infinity f of x into g of x dx is equal to integral 0 to infinity f of s fs of s into gs of s ds. Right? Now, all you have to do is simply substitute for the left hand side and the right hand side. So left hand side, what will you substitute? What is f of x? E power minus ax. What is g of x? E power minus bx. In the right hand side, what will you substitute? What is fs of s? It is root of 2 by pi s by s square plus a square. What is gs of s? Root of 2 by pi s by s square plus b square. So I've simply substituted on both sides. Okay, now just simplify, you will get the result automatically. Okay, now the right hand side, I brought it to the left hand side in the second step because that is what I want. So I brought it in the left. Okay, so I've taken the constants out, 2 by pi into integral 0 to infinity s square by s square plus a square into s square plus b square ds. See, this is the integral that we want. And that is equal to, the left hand side is brought to the right hand side. Now, what's the left hand side? Actually, I have e power minus ax into e power minus bx. How will I integrate? First, combine the two e's. So what is that? E power minus of a plus b into x. See, when you have the same base, what should you do? You should add the powers. Okay. So what is e power minus ax into e power minus bx? It is e power minus ax minus bx in the power, which can be written as e power minus of a plus b into x. Okay. Now I want you to integrate. What is the integral of e power minus, e power minus of a plus b into x? It is e power minus of a plus b into x divided by, because you are integrating, you'll have to divide by the constant. Divided by, what's the constant here? Minus of a plus b. Okay, between the limits 0 to infinity. Now substitute the upper limit. What is e power minus infinity? 0. So 0 minus. What is e power 0? Lower limit is 0. What is e power 0? 1. 1 divided by minus of a plus b. So that's how you get the result. Pi divided by 2 times a plus b. Of course, in the left hand side, I've replaced s by x. Because in the question I have x, right? So simply replace s by x. I get the result pi by 2 times a plus b. Okay. Now this is the first integral that we have found. How will you find the second integral? For the second integral, you have to use Fourier cosine transform. That's the only difference. And use the property. Okay, cosine transform property. Fine. So take the same function again, e power minus ax and e power minus bx. Now instead of sine, I'm going to find cosine now. What is Fourier cosine transform of e power minus ax? You know by heart, root of 2 by pi, a by a square plus a square. What is Fourier cosine transform of g of x? It is root of 2 by pi, b by s square plus a square. Okay. Now let's use the property for Fourier cosine transform. So what is that? Integral 0 to infinity f of x into g of x dx is equal to integral 0 to infinity Fourier cosine transform of f of x into Fourier cosine transform of g of x, which is denoted as fc of s and gc of s respectively. Now all you have to do is substitute. So on the left hand side, I'll substitute e power minus ax and e power minus bx. In the right hand side, I'll substitute the respective Fourier cosine transforms. Okay, so root of 2 by pi, a by a square plus a square. Similarly, root of 2 by pi, b by a square plus b square. Okay, now I've brought 2 by pi ab is a constant in the right hand side. So I've brought that outside, and I brought that entire integral to the left because that is what I want. Okay, now equal to, how did I get 1 by a plus b straight away? Because already I found it in the previous case. You remember? For the previous case, previous subdivision, I found the value of the left hand side integral. I found it to be 1 by a plus b. So I'm simply writing it straight away. I don't have to evaluate it again. Okay, don't waste time. Simply take it from there, 1 by a plus b. So integral 0 to infinity dx divided by x square plus a square into x square plus b square is what you want, right? So what is that equal to? Bring all the terms to the other side, pi by 2ab into a plus b. All right. So this is again a very famous problem, what we saw now. It's a very famous property. So remember the property. And as I told you earlier, in the question, nothing is given about the function. You're simply asked to evaluate these two integrals. And it has to strike you that you have to take the function as e power minus ax and e power minus bx and use the property. It has to strike you. Okay, so that's how thorough you should be with the problem. When you look at the question, you should know. Okay, I'm only concentrating on important problems. So I want you to really, get really thorough with these problems. I'm just going back and I'm telling you about this also. These two integrals are again very important. Since I have square, it has to strike you, you have to use parseval's. And when you look at the function, it has to strike you that you have to take f of x as e power minus x and proceed. Okay, so because you can also be asked straight away, just find the value of these integrals without mentioning about the function. You should know. Okay, all right. So let's quickly go ahead. So we've finished 2 topics now. Okay, we are done with 2 topics. We saw how to find certain integrals using Parseval's identity for Fourier cosine and sine transform. We saw how to find certain integrals using property of Fourier cosine and sine. Okay. All right. Now you can forget about those two topics, because this is something that is entirely new. All right. Third topic that we're going to see is application of Fourier transform. Okay. See, this is really interesting, right? When you learn about a transform and you're immediately learning where and how you are applying that transform, it's really interesting, right? So this application that we have here is we're going to see how to solve integral equations. Okay, so we're going to see how to solve integral equations using Fourier transform. Okay, so this is one big application that we have. Now, before I go to the actual problem, you need to know what is an integral equation. I'm sure you're familiar with it because you would have already seen it in Laplace transform, right? Now, integral equation is basically an equation which has an integral, as simple as that, okay? An equation which has an integral is called an integral equation. Now, that integral should contain an unknown function. Now, I've taken that unknown function to be f of x, okay? So, any equation which has an integral containing an unknown function f of x will be called an integral equation, right? So what we're going to do here is solve an integral equation, okay, using Fourier transform. So let's proceed and see how it goes. All right. So read the question now. It says solve the integral equation, integral 0 to infinity f of x cos lambda x dx is equal to e power minus lambda. Okay, this is the question. You're asked to solve this equation. Now, when you're asked to solve, what are you supposed to do? What is the objective of the problem? Okay. Now, when you say solve x plus 2 equal to 0, what do you do there? You find the value of x which satisfies that equation. You say x is equal to minus 2 is the solution, right? So similarly, when I say solve this integral equation, what do I mean? I'm asking you to find the value of f of x. What is the unknown here? F of x. I'm asking you to find the value of f of x which satisfies this integral equation. Okay, have you understood the objective of the problem, what we're doing here? So we're going to use Fourier transform. Don't forget that. We're going to use Fourier transform to find the value of f of x which satisfies the given equation. Okay, so that is exactly what we're going to do. So let's go to the solution now. So first I've written down what is the given equation. All right, what's the given equation? Integral 0 to infinity f of x cos lambda x dx is equal to e power minus lambda. This is given. I've taken it as equation 1. We will use it later. Just have it. Okay. Now, what is the objective of the problem? That is to find f of x, right? Now listen carefully. I know I have to find f of x because I must solve the equation. Now, which equation gives me f of x? Does anything strike you? Can you tell me without looking at this slide? Which equation talks about f of x? Only inversion formula, isn't it? I need to find f of x, and the only formula which gives me f of x is inversion formula. So that is why I'm going to use inversion formula to find my f of x. And which inversion formula will I use? I have inversion formula for Fourier sine, Fourier transform. I have inversion formula for Fourier sine, Fourier cosine. Which one should I use? I have to use inversion formula for Fourier cosine transform. Why? Because the given integral has cos in it. Is this very clear? Yes? Can you understand why I'm taking this formula? First thing, I have to find f of x. Which formula gives me f of x? Inversion formula. Which inversion formula should I take? I should take inversion formula for Fourier cosine transform because the given equation has cos lambda in it, cos lambda x in it. It has a cos function in it. Okay. All right. So inversion formula for Fourier cosine transform is f of x is equal to this we saw in the very first slide today. All right, I hope you remember. F of x is equal to root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity fc of f of x, because this is for Fourier cosine transform. Okay, fc of f of x cos sx ds. ds for inversion formula it is always ds. Okay, and for cosine transform all formulae the limits are 0 to infinity. Please don't forget. And the constant outside will be root of 2 by pi. All right. Okay, now I've taken this as equation 2. Now to find f of x, what should I find? I should find fc of f of x. Are you listening? To find f of x, that is my objective. I need to find fc of f of x. So let me go to the next slide. I'm going to find fc of f of x. I know the formula. By definition, what is Fourier cosine transform of f of x? It is root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity f of x into its cosine transform. So cos sx dx. Okay, by definition. Now, listen carefully. The value of this integral in the first step is what is given in the question. Look at the question. Look at equation 1. Look at the given equation 1. It says integral 0 to infinity f of x cos lambda x dx is equal to what? E power minus lambda. So I'm going to use that here. So what will integral, sorry. So I'm going to use that here. What is integral 0 to infinity f of x cos sx dx? See, the question says integral 0 to infinity f of x cos lambda x dx is e power minus lambda. So what is integral 0 to infinity f of x cos sx dx? It is e power minus s. Have you understood? This is from the given equation. So I found Fourier cosine transform of f of x. All I have to do now is substitute this in equation 2, the last equation. Okay. So therefore, what is f of x now? It is root of 2 by pi, integral 0 to infinity. What is fc of f of x? It is root of 2 by pi, e power minus s cos sx ds. Have you understood? So all you have to do now is integrate this. You will get the answer. Just one more step. Okay. So how do I integrate this? Now look carefully. 2 by pi is just a constant. You can take it outside. If you look at the function, again, it's in what form? E power ax cos bx dx. That's one formula that we saw just now, isn't it? What is integral e power ax cos bx dx? It is e power ax. By now you should be thorough. You should be able to say it, without looking at the slide. E power ax by a square plus b square into a cos bx plus b sin bx. Now I'm going to simply use that formula here for my integral. Now remember, for my integral, what is the variable? S is the variable. But in the formula, what is the variable? X is the variable. Okay. So please note this. It's really important. What is A for me? A is minus 1. Okay. What is B for me? B is X. A is minus 1. B is X. Because the variable for me is yes. Do you understand? Instead of X, yes is my variable. Okay. And instead of A, I have minus 1. Instead of B, I have X. So I've simply used the formula, replacing A by minus 1, B by X. And this is what I get between the limits 0 to infinity. Okay. Now, next step, all you have to do is substitute the limits. What's the upper limit? Infinity. What is e power minus infinity? 0. The whole term vanishes. Upper limit completely vanishes. What's the lower limit? 0. When you substitute for s as 0, what is e power 0? 1. So what will you get? 1 by 1 plus x square into the remaining terms become minus 1 and 0. Okay. When you substitute, cos 0 is 1, sin 0 is 0. So that's how you get 2 by pi into 1 plus x square. And that is my f of x. See, we found. We've solved the integral equation. Have you understood? So I'll just go through this quickly. We have to find f of x because we're asked to solve. We have to find the unknown function f of x. And which formula gives you f of x? This inversion formula. And why have I taken cosine transform? Because the question has cos. Okay. And then now this is f of x. So I have to find fc of f of x. So I wrote the formula for fc of f of x. And from the given equation, I wrote down the value of the integral. And then I substituted fc of f of x in f of x. So that's how I get the third step. Okay. Then to evaluate that integral, I simply used the formula for integral e power ax cos bx dx. That gave me the answer. Okay. Now we have a very similar problem. I just have one more problem under the same topic. I thought we can do one more problem with sign in it. Okay. And there's another difference in the question. Just read the question. It says solve the integral equation, integral 0 to infinity f of x sin xt dx. So it has sign. Please note it has sign. The integral equation has sign in it. And what else do you see that is different? Right hand side has, a splitted interval. It doesn't take one value. It takes 3 different values in 3 different intervals. And that will make a difference in the solution. Okay. So let's go ahead. Now you know the objective. What is the objective? So I've taken the given equation as equation 1. What are we supposed to find? Since I'm asked to solve the equation, I'm supposed to find the unknown function f of x. Okay. So to find f of x. So which formula gives me f of x? Inversion formula. So I've taken inversion formula for Fourier sine transform. Why have I taken sine transform? Because the question in the question, the integral has sine in it. Okay. So I've taken inversion formula for Fourier sine transform. And what is that? F of x equal to root of 2 by pi integral 0 to infinity fs of f of x into sine sx ds. Inversion formula always has ds. S is the variable. Don't forget. Okay. Now I've taken this as equation 2. Now, what is my aim? My aim is to find what is fs of f of x. Okay, so I'll find that now. What is fs of f of x by definition? It is root of 2 by pi, integral 0 to infinity, f of x into sin sx dx. Fine. Now, what is that integral? What is integral 0 to infinity? Look at the green highlighted part, the last but one step. I have integral 0 to infinity f of x into sin sx dx. Now, what is that integral? That integral is exactly what is given in the question. See, it's exactly the same thing, isn't it? What is the difference? What is the difference there? Now there I have t. Okay, here I have yes. So this is actually, it takes 3 different values in 3 different intervals. Okay, the value of this integral is given in the question. So I'm simply using that here. All right. So fs of f of x will now be root of 2 by pi is common outside. It takes the value 1 for values between 0 to 1. It takes the value 2 for x values lying between 1 to 2. And it takes the value 0 for all values of x greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so I've simply used this from the given equation 1. I've simply substituted it here. All right. Now, what should you do? You should substitute this fs of f of x in equation 2, because that will only give you f of x. Fine. So let's go ahead. Find f of x. Substitute this in equation 2. Therefore, what is f of x equal to? Now, I'm going to substitute it in this way. Now, please listen carefully. Fs of f of x does not take one value. It takes 3 different values in 3 different intervals. So what should you do while you substitute? You should first split the integral 0 to infinity as 0 to 1 plus 1 to 2 plus 2 to infinity. You understand? You have to split it, because it does not take one value. It takes 3 different values, fs of f of x. So that's the reason I've split it. See, when I substitute for fs of f of x in equation 2, that will give me f of x. But what have I done? I first split the integral 0 to infinity as 0 to 1 plus 1 to 2 plus 2 to infinity. Now in 2 to infinity, look at the last line. For x greater than or equal to 2, what is the value? 0. So the last integral becomes 0. Okay, integral of 0 becomes 0. So I can forget about the last integral. Now look at the first two. When x lies between 0 to 1, what is the value of fs of x? Look here. It is root of 2 by pi into 1. That is what I substituted. Look at the second integral. When x lies between 1 to 2, what is the value of fs of x? It is 2, root of 2 by pi into 2. So that's why I've substituted root of 2 by pi into 2. Okay. Now after that, it's only integration. Simple integration. Root of 2 by pi can be taken outside. It's common for both. Simply integrate. What is integral of sine? Minus cos. Okay. So minus cos sx divided by x. Okay. And then minus, what is integral of sine again? Integral of sine is minus cos only divided by x. See, why am I dividing by x? Because the variable here is yes. This is integral ds. S is the variable. So x is the constant. So when you divide by the constant, you'll have to divide by x, because that is the constant. Okay. And then I've substituted the limits and I've simplified. And that's how I get f of x to be 2 pi x is common throughout into cos x minus 2 cos 2x plus 1. Okay, so we've successfully found the value of f of x using inversion formula for sine transform. I took sine transform because the question had sine in it. Okay, so this is how you solve integral equations using Fourier transform. So it's a very nice application that we've seen. I've given one more problem for you to work out. This is going to be it's a combination of 1 and 2. Because look at the right hand side, it has splitted interval. Look at the left hand side, it has cos. So which inversion formula will you use? Inversion formula for cosine transform to evaluate the third problem. Okay. So here goes the last topic. This is the very last topic. Okay. And the last topic is finite Fourier transform. All right. Okay. Now this is a very, very different topic. And it says finite. Why do you think it says finite? Because all along, if you look at Fourier transform definition, f of x is defined in minus infinity to plus infinity. If you look at Fourier cosine and Fourier sine transforms, you will see that f of x is defined in 0 to infinity. Anyway, that infinity will come in the picture. Okay. So I can even call them to be infinite Fourier transforms. Now this says finite Fourier transform. So as the name itself suggests, you know what? Here f of x is defined in the interval 0, L, where L is a finite number. Is that fine? That's why we call it to be finite Fourier transform. Okay, now this is usually you get these questions in part A, usually, and very rarely in part B. Um, so we will just have a look at the formula and then two problems based on this, and then we will wind up today. All right. So here, as I told you, because it's called finite Fourier transform, remember f of x is defined in 0, L, where L is a finite number. Okay. Now we have two finite Fourier transforms. One is finite Fourier sine transform. The other is finite Fourier cosine transform. Okay. So let's look at the formula. Here also the notations are the same. How will you denote Fourier sine transform fs of f of x, right? Here also it's denoted as fs of f of x only. So what is that equal to? Of course, the formula is different. What is that equal to? It is 0 to L, because where is f of x defined? 0, L. So the limits are also 0 to L only. Okay, 0 to L, f of x into sine n pi x by L dx. See, the n pi x by L is in bracket. It's the angle. Sine of n pi x by L dx, where n is an integer. Okay, will you remember this formula? So what are we doing now? Finite Fourier transforms. Two types of finite Fourier transforms we have. One is finite Fourier sine, the other is finite Fourier cosine. Okay, here the difference is f of x is defined in a finite interval 0, L. And what is the formula for finite Fourier sine transform? Fs of f of x is equal to integral 0 to L f of x sine n pi x by L dx. Okay. Similarly, we have finite Fourier cosine transform. So how do we denote that? Again, it's the same notation, fc of f of x. And how is it defined? Integral 0 to L f of x into, instead of sine, you will have cos here, because this is cosine transform. Cos n pi x by L dx. So that's the only difference between the two formulae. Okay. There you have sine n pi x by L dx. Here it is cos n pi x by L dx. That's the only difference. Okay. So let's just look at two problems, very simple ones. Before we go on to the problems, these are standard results that you have to know. Now, I'm sure you know this. Sine n pi is 0 always for any n belonging to z. For any integer n, sine n pi is always 0. So sine pi, sine 2 pi, sine 3 pi, sine of minus 4 pi, they're all 0. Okay. Now, what is cos n pi? It is minus 1 power n. Now, this is something that you have to remember. How did I get this formula? See, I know cos pi, cos 3 pi, cos 5 pi, they're all minus 1. And I know cos 0, cos 2 pi, cos 4 pi, cos 6 pi, they're all plus 1. Okay, so it's alternate plus 1, minus 1, plus 1, minus 1. That's how I get this formula, minus 1 power n. Put n equal to 1, cos pi is minus 1. Put n equal to 2, cos 2 pi is plus 1, like that. Okay, so please remember these two. Sin n pi is 0, cos n pi is minus 1 power n. Sin 0 is 0, cos 0 is 1, I'm sure you know. Now, this is one important note. The standard form of the interval in finite Fourier transforms is 0, L. Okay, remember that. Let's go ahead with the problems. So in the first problem, you're asked to simply find finite Fourier sine transform of f of x equal to x. So the function is given. What is the function? X. And where is it defined? 0, L. So L is L only. Okay. And you're asked to find only finite Fourier sine transform. So in the solution, I've written the formula first. Fs of f of x, that is finite Fourier sine transform of f of x is equal to, what is the formula? Integral 0 to L f of x into sine n pi x by L dx. Okay. Now I've simply substituted. What is f of x? That's given in the question. F of x is x. So substitute for f of x as x. Okay. Now all you have to do is evaluate this integral. Now this is going to be really easy for you. I'm sure it's a cakewalk, because by now you're all thorough with this. It's product of two functions where one is algebraic. So I will go for Bernoulli's, integration by parts or Bernoulli's. Now, what should I take u as? According to Eilert, right? So algebraic comes first before trigonometric. So I will take u as x. The remaining becomes dv. And I will simply go for Bernoulli's formula. Okay. So according to Bernoulli's formula, what is integral u dv? It is uv minus u dash v1 plus u double dash v2 minus u triple dash v3, etc. So what is u for us? U is x. What is dv for us? Sine n pi x by L dx, right? So from that, I need to find all the terms. Now look at Bernoulli's formula that I've highlighted in yellow. U is x, right? And dv is sine n pi x by L dx. So what are the things that I have to find now? I need to find u dash, u double dash, etc. Similarly, I need to find v1, v2, etc. So let's first find, I always find the derivatives first, because only then you will know where you have to stop. Okay. So what is u dash? U dash is nothing but du by dx. So what is du by dx? It is 1. Okay, I guess you're asked to give your feedback, so I'll wait till you give your feedback. Okay, kindly give your feedback because all right. Okay. All right, let's just complete this problem first. Okay, so we've simply used Bernoulli's formula here. So u is x, right? So what is u dash? U dash is du by dx. It is 1. And what is u double dash? U double dash is 0. Because u double dash is 0, u triple dash and all higher order derivatives will be 0. So I can stop with u dash. Only if you find the derivatives, you'll know where you have to stop in the formula. So I'll have to stop with u dash. Now what is the coefficient of u dash in Bernoulli's formula? It is v1. So under V, I will find only till V1. It is enough if I find till V1. Okay. So that is why I found V and V1. Now, how do you find V? V is integral of dV. Now, what is integral of sine? It is minus cos. So minus cos of n pi x by L divided by, you divide by the constant. Isn't it? What is the constant here? N pi by L. X is the variable. N pi by L is the constant. So you divide by n pi by L. And what is V1? V1 is integral of V. So what is integral of minus cos? It is minus sine, okay, divided by another n pi by L. I already have n pi by L. So now I will get n square pi square by L square. Okay. Now simply I've used Bernoulli's formula. Okay. So what is the formula? U into V. See, I've highlighted U into V minus U dash into V1. Simply multiply. So that's how I get this step. Okay. Between the limits 0 to L. Next, we have to substitute. Now, when you substitute, the upper limit is L, right? So what will you get? Now what I've done is actually, if you look at the second term is becoming 0 completely. The second term is becoming 0 for both the upper and the lower limits. Why? Because when you replace x by L, please concentrate on the second term alone. Second term, when you substitute the upper limit L, when you replace x by L will get cancelled. You will be left with sine n pi. And what is sine n pi? 0. Similarly, the lower limit, when you replace x by 0, what is sine 0? Sine 0 is 0. So the second term completely vanishes. So don't look at the second term. Concentrate only on the first term. Now for the first term, what is the constant that I can take common? Minus L by n pi. See, what is 1 divided by n pi by L? It is L by n pi. L will go to the numerator. Okay. So minus L by n pi, I've taken it out. Next, I've substituted the limits. The upper limit is L. When you replace x by L for the first term, LL gets cancelled. You will be left with cos of n pi. And what is cos of n pi? It is minus 1 power n. Okay, so that's how I get minus L into minus 1 power n minus. What about the lower limit? When you put x as 0, 0 into anything is 0, right? So the second term vanishes. So that's how I get the answer to be minus of minus 1 power n into L square by n pi. That is all. So we found finite Fourier sine transform of f of x. So all you have to do, this is really simple. Just remember these two formulae. Substitute for f of x and integrate. And how did we integrate? We used Bernoulli's formula. Okay. So I have just one more problem to be done. This is slightly different because I've taken the interval to be 0, pi. So we're asked to find the finite Fourier cosine transform only for the function e power ax, which is defined in 0, pi. Now, what is the standard form of the interval? You know, the standard form of the interval is 0, L. Now, here the interval is 0, pi. So, what is L here? L is pi. Okay. Now, why I'm stressing on this is because in the formula, wherever you write L, you've got to replace it by pi. Okay. So, what is our function? E power ax. Where is it defined? 0, pi. The standard form of the interval is 0, L. So, L is pi. So when I write the formula for finite Fourier cosine transform of f of x, which is 0 to L f of x cos n pi x by L dx, what does it reduce to? It reduces to integral 0 to pi, because L is pi. And what is f of x for us? E power ax. Okay, into cos n pi x by L becomes cos nx dx. I've explained that in the highlighted yellow part. Please look there. Because L is pi, what will happen to cos n pi x by L? It will become cos of n pi x by pi, because L is pi. And the pi gets cancelled. So what are you left with? Just cos nx. Okay. So that's how the formula simply reduces to e power ax cos nx dx. Now all you have to do is evaluate this integral. Now when you look at this integral, it should automatically strike you. You should not go for Bernoulli's, because what is this? It's product of two functions where one is e exponential, the other is cos. So we have a ready-made formula. We've been using this formula throughout this topic, right? I mean, throughout today. So you have to, by now you should be really familiar with this. So what is integral e power ax cos bx dx? It is e power ax by a square plus b square into a cos bx plus b sin bx. That's the formula. Now look at the integral that we have. We also have e power ax only. Now instead of b, we have n. So that is what I've written here. B is n. Okay, so in the formula, simply replace b by n. So that is how I get the next step. Fourier cosine transform of f of x is e power ax by a square plus not b square, n square into a cos nx plus n sin nx between the limit 0 to pi. Simply substitute the limits now. The upper limit is pi, right? So when you replace x by pi, you will get e power a pi by a square plus n square into a into minus 1 power n. How did I get that? Because cos n pi is minus 1 power n plus sin n pi is 0. Okay, minus, what about the lower limit? What is e power 0? 1. So 1 divided by a square plus n square into a into cos 0 is 1, sin 0 is 0. So that's how I get that result. I mean the final answer. What is common for both the terms? A divided by a square plus n square is common. So I've taken that common. So what am I left with? Minus 1 power n into e power a pi for the first term. For the second term, it's simply minus 1. So that's the finite Fourier cosine transform of e power ax in the interval 0, pi. Okay, so I want you to know, I've given some additional problems here. I want you to know that it need not be just 0, L. It could be 0, 4. Look at the last problem. You're asked to find both finite Fourier sine and cosine transform for f of x equal to x cube. Okay, and where is it defined? 0, 4. X varies from 0 to 4. So what is L here? L is 4. Okay, so all you have to do is write the formula. Wherever you have L, replace it by 4 and proceed. Okay. So what we saw today was bits and pieces of Fourier transform, which is the very last unit. So we actually are winding up the last unit. Okay, with this session, unit 5 is completely over. So I hope that you found this session useful. And as always, I thank you for listening to me patiently. And take this seriously, and work out a lot of problems, and simply rock in the exams. Okay, all the best to you. Thank you.